Hello, hello. I hope I'm audible. Okay. Are there anyone in the live session? Let me know if you're there. Uh, so today what we are going to cover is first of all we'll cover object deep comparison. So we will first understand that and we'll complete that. Then we'll move on to object-oriented programming in JavaScript. Okay. So very important topic. It will include all the prototype and the dunder proto dunder. That's the keyword for that. So we will be looking into it. Okay. So let's start with object deep comparison. So for that, I have already written an article. So if you go to the slides, okay. So last time we finished pure functions. Okay. So after that, deep comparison. So here there will be a link to the article. Just open that article. Okay. So here we'll first understand what is it and why are we doing it. So in JavaScript, the primitive types, okay, are compared with the values that they have. So let's say we have a string 1, string 2. So we can directly compare them using the triple equality operator. Okay. Now I have mentioned the difference between triple equality and double equality, but let me uh, clear it once more. So basically, in double equality, what happens is the data type is coerced. Okay, let's have a number on a side and a string on a side. The string is converted into number. Okay, and then the comparison is done. Okay, so that happens with double equality. With triple equality, the coercion does not happen. Okay, they directly compare the two values that are there. So always use triple equality. Okay, so here since both the types are string and also the exact same string, then it will return true. Similarly, here we number comparing to number and num2, both are 5, so true. Boolean, both are true, so true. Okay, even undefined. Okay, if there are two uh, values which are undefined, you can compare them. Okay, using triple equality. Okay, they will return true. Now let's come to objects. Okay, so if you try to compare objects, it will return false. Okay, let's even see this in action. So I have this over here and here and save. Let's go to inspect console and we don't see anything. Why? Because I have to console log it. False, right? Even though both of them objects contain exact same thing, still they are uh, not equal. Why? Because when you're comparing any objects in your JavaScript, the content is not compared, the references are compared. Okay, so let me now explain you what I'm trying to say. So basically I'll have to open Excalibur. Okay, cool. So let's assume that this is our memory where everything is created. Okay, so say our first object was created over here. Okay, I'll just say like this. And what we did, so once we write this line, okay, once this line is executed, what happens is this object is created in the memory. Okay, and its address, the starting address of it, is assigned to this reference. Okay, so let me have an obj over here, obj1, and this will now basically point to the, so basically whatever memory address is there, that will be stored in obj1. Now let's execute line number 2. So now another object. Okay, it doesn't matter, it is the same thing, but it is another object, so it will be again allocated a different memory. So it in here, dot 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 dot. This is another object, so another memory, and now we are pointing it, obj2 is pointing it to, right? So we just write obj2 and let me point this over to here. Okay, so now I hope you understand. When you compare obj1 and obj2, the what you are comparing is the addresses of the object. Okay, and hence both, since both are a different memory address, and hence it will be written false. So now how can we compare the objects? And as I told you, everything in JavaScript is object. Okay, so same goes for array, same goes for functions. You cannot compare it like that. Okay, so you have to compare it using some different algorithms. So there are some libraries like load dash which will give you some deep equal or something like some sort of that functions. But let's understand if we want to implement it, how can we implement it. Okay. Correct, Abhi, you're right. Awesome, thanks for joining. So let me now start, yeah, continue with the this article. Good. Now there is one quick and dirty way to compare two objects. Okay, so what you can do is convert them to basically stringify them using JSON. So if I do this, so it returns true. Okay, so now let's see the outputs. Let's understand it better. What does the stringify does do? Okay. So basically what happened, let me just print the object, and then you will understand what's the difference. So log object1. So this is the object one. Again, this is a stringified version of that object. If you see, all the keys are also turned into strings, and all the values which are strings are converted into strings. Okay, so this is what stringification means. So it is converted to JSON basically. The object is converted to JSON. Okay, and now if you compare to JSON, it's just like comparing two strings. Okay, so it will return true. So it's a very quick and dirty way of doing it. Now why do I call it dirty? Like why doesn't this work? Can someone tell me, like, okay, I see only a B who is over here. If you can tell me for which scenario this will not work. For which scenario will this not work? Or if you are watching this video later, just can you try to guess for which scenario will this not work? I'll just give 1 minute and then I'll tell you which scenario it will not work. Okay, now let me tell you the answer. So basically, if I move the sequence, and now if I compare, return false. Why? Because both the strings, okay, will now return different JSON strings. So now see, this B is coming first, C is coming, and then A is coming. So it's just like if in a string it is A, B, and C, and then you say C, B, A. Is A, B, C equal to C, B, A? No, right? So that's why this JSON.stringify will not work if the order of the keys are not same. But still, both objects are same, right? They have exact same number of keys, same keys, and each keys have the corresponding same values. Just the order is different. Okay, so in that case, stringify will not work. So for now, so for that reason, we'll write our own algorithm. Cool. Let's continue. Cool. Let's before that also we need to understand what this null, because null is a special sort of thing. So type of null, if you do, it will you return an object, which is weird, but fine, it is an object. And if you compare null with itself, okay, it will return true, which is weird, because if it's an object, we cannot compare two objects, right? But this is something that is there. So why did I tell you this? Let it will be understandable in the next part. So basically, let's now try to understand how we will construct that function. So let's do const deepCompare equals to, we will give, so we will need two objects, right? So object1, object2. Now what is the first thing? Okay, 1 second. I need to disable this, deactivate this. Yeah, what is the first thing that we should do before we start deepCompare? So first thing that we should do is check if both of them are objects or not. Okay, so for that we'll create another function. Okay, so we will say like is object. It will be a function. It will take an object as the parameter, and what it will check? It will check that type of obj, if it is not equals to, okay, if it equals to object, then it is an object. but just now I told you, right, that null is also an object. So what else we need to check? We also need to check and obj is not equals to null, because if this is, if when I pass null, this will condition will satisfy, but we have to also see if it should not be null. Okay, so type should be object, but it should not itself be null. Okay, so that's why I showed you this special condition. Okay, so now let's do that first thing. So in this deep compare, what I am going to do is, basically there are different ways to, well, if you remember in your 10th, 11th and 12th, we used to have postulates and theorems, right? So in this we will be using that, we will try to find ways which will return false, and once all those ways are executed, that means all those ways are found, then at the end we will return true. So like if none of those conditions meet, that means both are equal. Okay, so I'll just return true by default, and then we will try to find all the conditions for which both of them will be false, like both of them will not be an object. I hope that is clear, the approach that I'm talking about. So first we'll check if not is object. Okay, either one of them, if it's not object, then we'll just let if not is object. So in this condition we just return false. So what are the other conditions that you can think of in which we can directly return false without checking anything, without even going further and comparing each and every value? What other things can you think of? Just think. I'll give you a couple of seconds. So what other thing that we can think of is the number of keys, right? If this has 4 keys and this has 3 keys, then we don't need to do comparison. From that itself we can go out, right? So here we'll do or and then declare bracket. How do we get the keys? So object dot keys of obj1. Now that will be give, what will it give me? It will give me an array. Okay, it will give me an array of all the keys. So I don't want to just compare the array, I want to compare the length. So len length is not equals to, okay, if the length is not equal, then also want it to go ahead, meaning if both don't have same number of keys, then also return false. So these are all the basic conditions that we checked, that in case objects are not equal. Okay, but now what we need to do, now we need to find reasons, other reasons. Okay, now we need to actually compare and see how it will look. So for that, first we'll get the keys, const keys equals to object keys of obj1. Okay, and what we will now do is iterate over it. Okay, iterate over it, and for y equals 0, I less than what, keys dot length. Okay, I plus plus. Now we are iterating over the keys, and now we will check. So what is the first thing that we need to check? We need to check if any of them, okay, let's say first, I'll take the first key, let's say b, and I'll take b of obj2. Okay, so if both of them here they are containing the same thing, and which is a string, but let's say the key is c, so now c itself contains another object. Okay, so if we are the key, the value of the key is itself an object, then we need to recursively call that function with those objects. Correct. So what we can do is we can check let me just go to the article actually. So this is the here, it's fine. Keys 1, keys 2. Okay. Keys 1. If I forgot that. So we'll have to have a keys 2 because we need keys for both of them. So we'll take keys over here, and now what we do, here I use for of, you can use that for condition also, anything is fine. So what I am doing is taking value of both of them and then checking if both of them are objects or not. Okay, so let me go over here. Value 1. okay, equals to actually for of is better. For const key in keys 1. Okay, now what we'll do, object of key 1 and const value 2 equals to object 2 of key 1. Okay, not key 1, key actually, this key. Okay, so let me check it's correct, right? Yep. Now we will check our objects. Our objects meaning both, if both the keys are objects, both the values actually are objects. So what how do we check that? Is object, we have a function, right? Is object, and we will pass this value 1 and is object value 2. So this is a shortcut operator, I hope you remember. Okay, if both of them are true, then only it will return true, otherwise it will return false. Okay, if this becomes false, it will not go ahead, it will just return false from here. Okay, so now what we are doing to check, like if, okay, are objects, if both of them are objects, then what we need to do, we need to recursively call the deepCompare function. Okay, and with what value 1 and value 2, is value 1 and value 2. Okay, now we have to call. And now what do you do, what method are we using to define this function? That you have to find all the false condition. Okay, so what I have to check here, if not deepCompare, then return false. Correct. Okay, otherwise if both of them are not objects, meaning else, what we'll do, if value 1 is triple equals to value 2, simple triple equals to comparison. Okay, not equals to, right? Because where we are finding all the negative conditions, then return false. Okay, we check if we are done. Yes, correct. Yep, that's it, that's the function. Okay, so I just did a save. So basically this is our function. Okay, let me just again walk through it. So we took two objects, okay, because we have to compare two objects. We checked if basically this approach is like we have to just return true at the end, and we have to find all the false conditions. Okay, so if either of them is not an object or the keys are not same, okay, then return false. Then get the keys for both the keys, then loop over any one of those array, okay, keys array. Then what do? Get the value, okay, for object 1 key, okay, and object 2 key. So it will give values, respective values for that. Now what we'll check if are objects, if both of them are objects, both values are objects, then we have to recursively call deepCompare. Okay, so what we check, if are objects, then we recursively call deepCompare. But what we need to find, negative conditions. So we'll say if not, okay, if that returns false, meaning return false. Okay, else, if, meaning if both of them were not object, right? I think either one of value is string and both of them are string, but at least one of them is not an object, then we directly compare using triple equality. Okay, and we'll see not equals to and return false. Okay, so this is our function. Let's try to execute it. So console.log deepCompare obj1 comma obj2. Let's see if it works or not. True, returns true. So even though if you see order is different, it's B, C, A and A, B, C, but the contents are same, so it works. Okay, now another question that you might have, or if you don't have, then I'll ask you, do you think this will work on arrays also? If I had to pass two arrays, will it work? I can test it out. There are 1, 2, 3. Let's make it string 0, 20, Okay. Okay. First, let's compare them normally. Okay, let's see that it should not work. ARR1 is equals to ARR2, and I'll just comment this part and let's go. True, false, right? But normally it will not compare. That's obvious. Now let's compare it using deepCompare. True, right? So it will work on array also. Why? Because I told you everything in JavaScript is an object. Okay, and array is a type of object. And why it works? Basically, we have like indexes, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in arrays. Those will become as keys, and the corresponding values, like here one a string and this object, those are the values. Simple. So it will work on arrays also. So you can use the same function to compare two uh, what is it? Objects or two arrays. Why for in but not for off? You can use for off also. It's not that you cannot use. I think this is for off, not for in. Okay, this is for off. Cool. There is no particular reason if I did I picked it. So cool. So that's it. Like that's our deep comparison. So now let's continue to the next object-oriented programming. Okay, cool. So let's understand what we are trying to do first. Now, before even diving deep, like why, what, why, and all, let's try to understand how do we go about it. Why do we need OOP sort of things? Okay. So if before that, I have some. Let's check something. Okay. Let me just get rid of this and create const obj1 const. Just use this and let's console.log it. Console.log. Okay, this is logged. Now let's just try to understand what happens if I expand. Like if I try to understand what is there in this, and it's made up name team. Then if you see there is something known as prototype over here, right? Let's try to explore what it is. If I go over here, it is a object sort of thing. Here it says object, and here I have some of the functions. Okay, let me go in depth. This is again an object, same values and function. Let me go again, null. Okay, understood. So let's try again with another thing. So const arr1. Well, I'm just trying to see what's there. Like I'll explain what it exactly is, but let's try to understand. Tony and yeah, let's just okay, it's an array. If you have 0 and 1 length, then you are going to have a prototype. Okay, cool. If you see here, this says array. Okay, and here we have functions, all the map and filter and reduce and all those functions are there. Now there's a prototype again. Okay, this is now just saying object. Okay, it again has a proto. Okay, the proto is an array. Again same thing, and again a prototype, object, proto, object, proto, null. Okay, what is happening? What is this prototype? What is this proto? Let's try to understand. Okay. Cool. So keep that in mind, whatever I showed you now. I'll come back to that. Let's try to now understand from these slides. We want to create objects to store information about Marvel characters. The most basic way, okay, is to individually create those objects. Simple, like this: hero 1, hero 2, hero 3, hero 3, like that. Okay, that's the most basic way, but that is very repetitive, right? The key names are same: name, made up name, team. Only the values are differing. So if I want to automate this, what can I do? The simple answer is create a function, right? So we create a function, create hero, which will take three parameters: name, made up name, and team. And by default I'm using default parameters to give it avengers. Okay, so now I have this function which is returning the value. Okay, now this is also using shorthand property. Okay, ES6 syntax shorthand, if you remember. Good. So again, hero1, hero2, I'm just passing two parameters. Why? Because these belong to same team. If I wanted to change their team, I can pass it as a third parameter. Okay, so now it became a bit easier. Okay, now I have to call the create hero, create hero, create hero every time, and with that I'll just pass the arguments, which are the hero and the made up name, whatever it is. Okay, cool, let's go ahead. Now suppose we had to create a function. What is the function? That will display the values of it. So I can just add a function in the object that I'm returning. Okay, which will say hero name is this dot name and team is this dot team. Okay, so why this? What will this point to? So once I call this function, it will return an object. Okay, and this method is part of an object. Okay, and I'll be always calling that method with respect to this object hero1. So if I call hero1 dot the function, okay, then this will point to hero1. Okay, so whatever is the content of hero1, it will be pointing to its name and its team. Okay, so cool, this also happened. Now if you see, okay, let me just help you see that. Okay, what I am trying to show over there. So we have a function, okay, and this is there. Let me just add the display name wala also over there. Okay, cool, and we have created h1, h2, h3. Let's just console log them. Dot log hero1, hero2, and hero3. Okay, cool, we have three objects. Let's see, each of them has this display hero details. Cool. Now if you see that the method is same for each of them, but still it is being created in memory again and again. Let's say if I have 1000 objects, then 1000 times this function will be created. Okay, and that function does the same thing. Okay, does not do anything different, it does the same thing. Okay, so is there any way we can like have that function should be created only once, because like it's not doing anything different, right? It's just printing the name and the team. So one way which you might be thinking is that we can create a function which is outside this object and we'll pass the name and team to it. Okay, but again we reach to the first problem. Okay, so now let's try to understand what's happening. So if each object you see it's having its own display row methods. So let's assume we had 9 more methods, and each of them will need memory of 10 functions. Okay, because there are 10 objects, so it will have its own display row, so it will need 10 memory for 10 functions. Now one way to solve is to define a function separately and not have them part as objects, which I told you, right? But in that case we'll have to pass the arguments of the object, okay, needed for every function. Also objects will be not tightly coupled with the actually it should be functions. Functions will not be tightly coupled with objects. Okay, I'll change that. So the one way that I am showing you is now prototypical inheritance. Okay, so for that let's first understand what is function constructor. Okay, yep, Abhi, you have written correctly, it's constructor function, you can use that. So let's understand what a function constructor is. So if you see, it will be declared with a function keyword. Again, one more important thing, you cannot create function constructor using arrow functions. Okay, so sometimes people ask difference between arrow functions and normal function. This is also one more difference. Okay, so just make it note that you can create a function constructor using function keyword but not in arrow functions. Okay, so function keyword, then create the write the function name, but remember it should be with capital letter. Even if you write small letter, it will work. Okay, it will not give any error. But it is a convention that you should, if you are creating a function constructor, basically you should use capital letter. Okay, so this is my function constructor create hero, where I'm taking some parameters: name, made-up name, team Avengers. Okay, now within that body of the function, this is the most important thing. This, if you are using this keyword, that will define whether this function is a normal function or a constructor function. Okay, that is the most important point. So here I'm using this dot name, this dot made up name, this dot team equals to whatever we are getting in the parameters. Okay, so now this is the way to declare a function constructor. Now let's see how it will return objects. So for that you have to use the new keyword. Okay, use the new keyword, then write the name of the constructor and the parameters. That will return a new object and this will be pointing to that new object. Okay, so now if I just console.log hero1, we'll see it is that object. Okay, so when this function is executing, it creates an empty object, okay, which this points to, and it adds the following properties to it. Okay, at the time it's like an empty object. In an empty object it adds these three. Okay, and then that object is returned to and assigned to hero1. Okay, that's it. That's the basic of it. Okay, now coming to the solution, which is actually the prototype thing. Okay, so how do I add the method? Like, this is fine. How do I add the method? So now we can add a method to this create hero function via prototype property of create hero. Okay, so as I told you, everything in JavaScript is an object. So functions are also object. Okay, so this create hero is a function which will have this prototype property. So we can add functions to this constructor using prototype property. Okay, so let's do that. So create hero, so function dot prototype. So if I am accessing anything via dot, that means it's an object. Hence functions are objects in JavaScript. Okay, this was again once asked in interview, like how can you prove that functions are objects? This is how you can add properties via prototype. Okay, cool. So what is the display hero, right? Display hero details equals to function. What I have to do? Same thing. Let me just copy that. Okay, I did not write it, or what? Here it is. Yeah. Now let me do hero1 dot display. So it's there. So it's coming like this. Okay, now let's see like the actual problem, which is the actual problem solved or not. The problem of creating same functions again and again, like unnecessary memory wastage. Let's see that. So let's say hero 2, 3, 4, Steve, Peter, Bruce, Spider-Man, and Hulk. Okay, so let's log all of them. 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's open the object. Now if you see, the display hero is not part of this object. Okay, again, not part of this object, not part of this object, not part of this object. So where did it go? Okay, so we added to prototype, right? If you remember, here we have added to prototype. So is there something called prototype in this? Yes, it is there. So let's open that. So if you see, now you are seeing this function, right? It's there. Correct. So we added that method to its prototype, to the function constructor's prototype. Okay, so now if you remember, I showed you, right, objects, all objects, like array also I showed you, they have something prototype, right? So this is that prototype. If you want to add anything to basically the prototype of a object, then you can use the dot prototype uh, key and add properties or functions to it. Okay, so okay, this might be difficult, but let me help you understand. So what does prototype mean? So in general, in normal language, what does prototype mean? Let's just Google simple meaning of it. So prototype meaning, first or preliminary version of a device, like okay, that's like basic filter network. Okay, make a prototype of. So okay, here we are not getting the exact meaning that I'm trying to do. But it's basically like uh, the most basic part. Okay, so the most basic. Look, let's say I want to create a prototype of a phone. So how does a phone look like? The most basic thing of a phone, that will be the prototype. Okay, from that you can extend it and you can create it like a smartphone, or you can create add more cameras to it and all those stuff. But the most basic thing, like it should have like some sort of network, some sort of battery or something like that. That's the prototype. Okay, so what we do, we create prototype, and then if you want to add anything to that prototype, okay, then we can add it via dot prototype property. Okay, again it might be a little confusing. Let's try to understand. Okay. Mm, Again, this is another example. So if I do this, okay, I not even need to copy this. You can check over here, basically console.log hero1 dot has own property, what name. True. Okay, so what does this function do? First let's understand. It checks whether this key is available in its object or not. Okay, whether this hero1 contains a key of name. Okay, but if you see, I did not neither added it as a prototype nor I have put it over here. Okay, this method is not there. So how is this hero1 able to access it? Okay, so let's understand. Let me again print hero1. So I don't see it here, but I see a prototype. Let's see, maybe it's there in the prototype. Okay, I don't see it there, but again it has its a prototype. Let's see over here. Yes, I see, has own properties over there. Okay, so if you try to understand, let's just understand how in the basic way. Okay, let me just what is different. So Java is different. Okay, don't confuse this with Java. Okay, keep Java different, keep JavaScript different. Just for this is how it works in JavaScript. It doesn't work the same way in Java. Okay, this is just oops in JavaScript. Okay, at the surface level seems similar to Java and C++, but underneath it is what I am explaining as of now. So don't get confused, don't compare them. Okay, just understand what I'm trying to help you understand. So if I had to just understand from the basics of it, so what I would say that hero1, okay, I called a function on hero1. So what it did it is first try to find in its own object, this one, okay, whether that function was there or not. It did not find it, so it went into its own prototype. Again, it did not find it. Okay, if you see in its own prototype, it did not find it, but that prototype also had a prototype, so it went into that prototype and then it found it. Okay, so let's say if even if it did not find it over here, what would happen? It will go into this proto. Okay, it will go into the proto here. Again prototype not there. Okay, here let's say again it didn't find over here. It will go on even more in depth. Here null. Okay, so at the end we also see a null. So it's not that it's just going infinitely, there is a null also. So basically, if you just understand with normal logic, then it tries to find that method in its own object and via the prototype chain. Okay, it's sort of a chain, right? Prototype dunder proto. Okay, it tries to find that method using the prototype chain. it will keep on finding till it encounters null. If it encounters null, then it will return an error that there is no method as such. Okay, let's do that. Let's try to understand that part. Let's say I just change it like we'll just add one more end. So what should it do? It will give, it's not a function. Okay, how? Okay, so basically what it did, it tried to first find its own object, did not find. It tried to prototype, did not find. Went to its prototype, did not find. It went to it prototype, dunder, did not find. Kept on going till it hit null. Once it hit null, it tell, okay, this function does not exist. Okay, so that is what prototype chaining is, and that is how inheritance works in JavaScript. Okay, nothing complicated. Okay, it's that simple. So inheritance happens in JavaScript via prototype chaining. Okay, so all the objects that are created in JavaScript, they are created like they have their prototype as the object. So if you see array, when I showed you array, I'll again show you array. So okay, let me just comment this. Okay, no need to comment this. I'll just so I'm just creating an object and console logging it. This is an object. Okay, if you go see what does this prototype besides what is written besides prototype, that it is created from an object prototype. Okay, that this object is created from an object prototype. Okay, if you go inside that, it will have a dunder proto dunder. Okay, which will again be pointing to, which will have another dunder proto dunder, which is pointing to null. Okay, so let's this is understood. I think this is simple. Now let's understand array. Okay, for array I'll just have like what this one. So let's have an array. This is an array. If I click, what is the prototype? It is saying that this object, okay, this thing was created from prototype of an array. Correct. Now let's go inside that. Okay, and let's go to prototype. Now see, this array is itself created from object prototype. Okay, let's go inside dunder proto dunder. It's an array. Okay, so prototype, this dunder proto dunder is array because this is type of array. Okay, now if I go inside that, it will have dunder proto dunder. No, it will have prototype, sorry, basically prototype object dunder proto dunder object and then null. Okay, so I know that later part was confusing, but don't focus on that. Focus on what was the prototype of this. It was array, and if you see the prototype of array, then what is it? It's an object. So what you can understand from this, that everything in JavaScript is created from that object prototype, and hence since from the first session I'm keep on saying that everything in JavaScript is an object. Okay, now you will say strings and all that. What about that? I'll show you that also. String ABC, prototype what? String. Okay, if I go inside that, what is prototype? Object. Correct. So we usually do not use new. Okay, we never use new. We use normal strings, which are actually known as literals. But you can create it using this object also, and hence everything in JavaScript is an object. You do it for number, you can do it for boolean. Okay, for everything that that exists a prototype. Okay, now let's even check for a function. This doesn't do anything, but let's check. Function. Prototype is a function. Okay, and if you see, prototype is an object. Okay, so everything in JavaScript is an object, hence proved. Okay, I don't know why this is over here. Cool. Instead JS has primitive too, hence not like that. It is not. See, if you consider that, that's why I showed you like string. If you wanted to create using object, you can create, but yeah, The literals, the numbers that you directly create, the strings that you directly create, the boolean that you directly create. Obviously, those are not objects, but there is object version of them also, all of them. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. You are right. I mean, if I say everything, there is a star in it, except for literals. Okay, everything is an object. Okay, cool. Thanks for mentioning that. Like, okay, it could be like if in interview someone can ask that. Why is everything object? सब कुछ object है. That can happen like that, except for literals. Everything is object. Cool. Hmm. So, hmm. So everything is the same. Whatever I explained, nothing new. We check. Okay, we'll now jump to object.create. But before that, Abhi, is there any doubt? Because I think only you are the one who is attending in the live session. Any doubt in prototype? Prototype chaining, anything, any doubt? Let me know. And if also you guys are watching this later and you have any doubt, you can put it in the YouTube comments, like the video comments, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. Okay. I hope it is clear because I even showed you usually how it works. Okay, it's just like prototype till it finds null. If it and it's not just for function. Okay, we can even add properties over here. It's not just functions. We can add properties. Anything is fine. Okay, so no doubt. Okay, cool. Thanks for that confirmation. Cool. So it's 9:30. So what I'll do is I'll take a break. I'll take a short break. Okay, and then we'll continue with object.create and then classes. Okay, so classes is nothing but syntactic sugar underneath whatever I showed you. That's how it works. Okay, so cool. I'll just take a short break and I'll return. Okay, I'm back. So before I show object.create, one thing again I would like to show, like how I showed you the prototype of array and string and objects, all of that, and I also like to show you the prototype of hero one. Okay, so let's just do that. Okay, what is it? What is the prototype? This object. This is the constructor. This is the object. Why? Because we created a constructor, and from that constructor we created 0 1. Okay, so that becomes this prototype. Okay, so from what you create, okay, from what you create, that becomes your prototype. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So if you're using function constructor and creating objects from them, then that is your prototype. Okay, for all of them, 0 1 2 3 4, all of them, this is the prototype. Okay, cool. That was just one minor thing that I want to show you. Now let's move to object.create. Okay, let's see what it is. Object.create method creates a new object using an existing object as the prototype of the newly created object. Okay, so let's do that. Let's use this, paste, save. Okay, so we have an object hero. Okay, name, made up name, team, this function, all of things is there. Now what I'm doing is I'm using object.create, okay, passing hero as the prototype. Okay, and as a second parameter I can pass the values for all of the keys. Okay, so let's see if I don't do that, what happens. So hero name is nothing, team name is Avengers. Okay, why hero name give me as nothing? Because here it is given as blank. Okay, so if I don't give, let's just console log it so understand it better. Console log 0 1. So it's an object, okay, which has nothing at all. Okay, so then how was it able to access this method? Simple, prototype chain. It tried to prototype, it saw this method, it used it. Okay, let's say if I want to even check how did it get its team, let's do the team Avengers, how it is able to get team even if it doesn't have. Simple, it went to the prototype chain. Okay, it went to the prototype chain. It itself doesn't have anything, but it went to prototype, it's found Avengers is there. So but if I want to give initialize it with something, okay, then I can use this. Here I can say name, then here, so it's giving values a bit different, so it's like this, Bruce, made up name, value Hulk. Okay, and now let's do dot name. Now let's first see how it looks. So now it contains name and made up name. Okay, but if I do name, what will it pick? It will pick this or this. Let's see. It picks Bruce. Why? Because first, as I told you, it will find within its own object, right? If it is finding over there the property or the method, it will use it from there. If not, then it will look up the prototype chain. So it find it over there. That's why it use it from there. Okay, so is this clear? Clear, right? I hope it's clear. So this is simple, like this was what object.create does. So if you don't want to use constructor, like function constructor, this is another way to create objects from a prototype. Okay, questions are asked in interviews regarding this. Okay, that's why I am teaching you this. I'll tell you what sort of questions. So they'll give something like this, then they will say hero dot name equals to Tony. It's null, right? I say Tony. Now they will say what will this print? Okay, what will this print? First you can tell me what will this print. I changed it on hero. Okay, not hero one, I changed it to hero, and now I'm trying to print for hero 1. What will it print? It print Bruce. Okay, why? Because first of all it will look at its own object where this value is already there, right? So no issues. Even if you change this to whatever it is, it doesn't matter because I already have. But now another question could be like, if I delete hero1 dot name, now tell me what will be the this hero1 dot name. So again we'll see it is non-configurable. Wait. That property descriptor thing is happening over here. Okay, I cannot delete it. Okay, because this is something related to property descriptor, which I have not taught till now. It's little advanced stuff, so we can control whether some properties can be deleted or not, or can be extended or not, and all those stuff. So I might teach it later, but for now it's little advanced. Okay, so fine. Cool. I hope my voice is audible, because let me just check. Yeah, it's audible. Fine. Ignore this part. Actually, what I was trying to do is I was trying to delete the name property. In that case, it will not have it in its own objects, so it will go to the parent and it will fetch Tony. Okay, in that case it will be Tony. That's what I was trying to do. Cool. So this is regarding the object.prototype. I hope it's clear. Now let's come to classes in JavaScript. So classes in JavaScript are nothing but syntactic sugar. Underneath it will be creating a function constructor, and when you add methods to your class, they are added as in prototype chaining. Nothing else. It will be added as prototype. That nothing else. Okay. So they were just added so that they can follow the same convention of creating objects as used in other OOP languages like Java and C++. Okay, so that people like Java and C++ even would want to even use JavaScript because it's the same way. Syntax would be remain same. Okay, so yeah, let's see this. Okay. Cool. So we have a class hero. Okay, where we have a constructor. So constructor here it's taking 3 parameters, then we are assigning it. Like if you see syntactically same thing. Instead of constructor we used to have function and then function name. It would be hero over here. Okay, instead of here it's class and hero. Okay, then this is the method. This will be added internally as part of the prototype. Okay, and if you want to create, you just say new hero and then the parameters which are required. So let's first log this and see console.log hero. Okay, why is this coming in between? 1 second, let me fix this. Now it will not come. Cool. So if you see, what is it? It is this, right? And if you see prototype, what is the prototype? Just like in function constructor, this thing constructor, right? Same thing used to happen in function constructor. We used to see the constructor. What the constructor would have been the prototype. So here the same thing. Okay. So in here just one difference. Let's written class over here. That's all. So yep, that's it. Like if I want to do now hero 1 dot display name, and again if you see it's not part of the let me show you again that part. So if you see this display, that method is not part of the object. It is, you have to go to prototype chain, then you will find it, right? So class is just syntactic sugar. Underneath how it works I showed you in prototype part of the section of this video. Okay, so I hope it was understandable. Okay. I think Abhi might not be there, or it's there, or not sure, but I hope it is understandable. Cool. So that was how you create class. Nothing, simple, class and constructor and all. Okay, cool, you are there. Thanks for the confirmation. Cool. So now, but what the important thing is, this is not important thing how you write class, but how it internally works, that is important in JavaScript. So I hope now that is understandable. Okay, cool. Now classes can also be defined like this. This is also valid way of defining class. so which you might not have done, but or you would not even use it like this, but since it's there, I'll just explain. Same, this is the change. Let's see, same thing, nothing, no change. Okay, similar. That's just another way of doing this. This also can be as in interviews. Okay, they'll give like this, they'll say what will be the output. The people might say it's an error because this we cannot declare class like this, but no, you can declare. Again, very stupid question to be asked, but still people do ask. uh, so it's known as class expression, just for your information. Cool. Now let's talk about public, private, and static properties. So let's take this and paste it over here. So a class can have public properties which can be accessed outside the which can be accessed with the objects created from the class. Then private, which can only be accessed within the functions. Okay, and static. So for static, you don't need to create an instance of your class. You can directly use that. Okay, so let's try to understand it. So okay. Console log everything. So Marvel object, I created an instance. Okay, instance and object all the same. So if I use instance, it's the same. So I'm creating an instance of this class Marvel. Okay, let's see what does Marvel has. It has one property movies. Okay, which is a public property. If I don't give anything ahead of this, it's like a hash or a static, then it's a public property. If I give hash, then it's a private property. And if I write the static, it means a static property. Okay, the same way method also can be static. Okay, so cool. We are creating an instance. Let me use the first console of Marvel object.movies. I'm trying to access a public property. I'm able to access it. Simple. Public properties will be able to access. You will be able to access. Okay, fine. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to access the series. Like there's a private property. Let's see what happens. We get undefined. Okay, we are not able to. So it will not give an error. It will say it is not defined. Okay. So let's see if I had a public property also with the name, same name. Okay. Let's say Iron Fist. What will happen? It will show that. Okay, so you can have same property name, but one as public, one as private. Okay, I would I can think of a couple of use cases for this, but ideally don't keep it. Okay, keep the name different, but yeah, this can happen. Okay, cool. So if I try to access a public private property, I get what? I get undefined. Okay, cool. Now let's try to understand the next one. And now I'm trying to access a static property. I get again undefined. Okay, let's again do that same thing. Comics equals to Iron Fist. Able to access. Okay, so again you can have same property name for a public property and a static property, but again don't do that. But yeah, so what we understood that if you try to access a private property or a static property on the instance, okay, of a class, then we will get undefined. We will not get any error as such. We will get undefined. Now let's try to access the static method on this instance. Then I get an error, okay, which is sort of weird because if I try to access static property, it gives undefined, but if I try to access static method, it gives an error. Okay, sort of weird, but yeah, that's how it is. So that is, and now I'm trying to log marvel.comics. Okay, so it's class, okay, .comics. Why can I do this? Because it is a static. Okay, so static property. So let me see what it shows. It will show me that Avengers Fantastic Four. Okay, cool. And let me now try to access the static method over Marvel. Yes, Almighty Stanley. That's what I'm console logging. Okay, so this is how your public, private, and static methods and properties are. I hope you are able to understand. Hey Rajni, nice to see you joined. Cool. So like nothing much, nothing conceptual as such, just couple of caveats, I would say. If there is any doubt, you can ask me. I'll tell you. Subclassing. Cool. Let's understand subclassing. So subclassing is nothing but inheritance. Okay, it's just a different name in JavaScript. So I have a class Marvel movie, which is a constructor. Okay, and then there is a show creator, and again I have a class Black Panther. So basically, this is my parent class, from which I want to create different classes. So what I can do, I can create class Black Panther, which extends. Okay, so here the keyword is extends, and then from which parent class you want to extend. So Marvel. Okay, so now when you extend a class, okay, then what happens is in the class which is extending another class, in its constructor you have to call super. Okay, if you don't call super, it will give error, I think. Let me check. In this case, it will not work at all because one second. What is happening over here? Assignment to undeclared variable actor. This is another error itself. So actually, if it is a constructor, and I should use this, that would be the issue. Yep, that was the issue. If I don't use super, it's not giving error. No, see, it said must call super constructor before using this. Okay, so that's the convention. You have to call super. So if you are extending any class, then you have to call super in its constructor. Okay, that's the first point that I was trying to explain. Now let's understand this and this. So basically, I created an object from Black Panther class. Okay, and I did show creator. So is show creator present in this, in its own class? No. So when it will check its parent class. Is it available over there? Yes. Then it will use that. So show creator Stanley. Then show actor. Show actor, is there present over here? Yes, it is present. So it will just use that function. Okay. Hey Rohan, how are you? Cool. Awesome. Let's now okay, yeah, this was simple, right? Subclassing, it's just like inheritance. Welcome, Radni. That's what I try to do. Try to teach something new. I hope just more people watch these videos. It's because people just watch this numbers and JavaScript videos, which is very good actually. Even when I used to, like 2 years ago, I used to refer that 2 years ago, whenever it was created, I was seeing it and I used to just revise some concepts using that. But people just limit themselves to single playlists and then they don't watch anything else. I would say just keep exploring, keep learning more and more. Okay, don't limit to something just once. Okay, because you think that that's it. That there is nothing outside it. Just keep learning more. That's the only thing that I want to say. Cool. Subclassing is done. Welcome, Rohan. Welcome. Cool. The extend keyword is used in declaration. Yeah, this is just explaining stuff. Okay, that's it. That's the last slide. Great. Okay, so slide wise we are over. But apart from this, what else can I teach in JavaScript? Because I created this slide last year, so I need to update it. Actually, I have a couple of stuff that I can teach, but that I wanted to do as a separate session. Okay, not in this session itself. So it's almost 10, but let me just or if the ones who are there in the live session, if you remember any topic which I can show over here. Composition versus inheritance. Okay, good topic. I can talk about that. Okay. Anything else? Tell me. mm, 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 mm. Okay, let's talk about composition versus inheritance, because that's one thing that's it's good to talk about. Mm, so I'll create a class hero, Marvel hero. So, okay, let's create a, let it be him. The sort actor will take it from the, okay. So create a, let it be. Hmm, Black Panther. Show actor. Can fight. Okay, let me just write this. Can fight jujitsu or something like that. I don't know the form of fight that is used, but yeah, I'm just for example. Okay, so now let's say we have a class of Tony Stark extends hero. This also should be Marvel hero. Okay, it will say can fly. Okay, can fly using suit, and class that's the vision. Actually, I have to take actor over here, pass it on the Moon Knight. You can take him. Yeah, actually, but can he fly? I don't think he can fly. Mm, Structure vision. So now what vision can do? He can fly and he can fight. Okay, so these are the two things that he can do. Okay, I just fill it with just empty body as of now. Now, what actually is the problem? Let me just try to form it correctly, because I did not prepare this example. So for composition, what we do say is that whatever functions are required, we can compose those functions, but in inheritance unnecessarily those are added. Hmm. Yep. Let me check that. Okay, one second. Um, just turn an object bn, which will be having the Okay, 1 second. Okay, I need to prepare this example correctly, because if I explain this now and this will be staying on YouTube, it might be wrong. So I'll do that. I know, like, what you're trying to say is composition versus inheritance, but I need to prepare this example correctly. So I'll explain it in the next session. Cool. But tell me, what else would you want me to explain? But good topic, composition versus inheritance. That's one. Apart from that, so I'll tell you what else I'm going to teach. I'm going to teach the mm, pub sub pattern. Pub sub pattern is a very important question asked in multiple interviews. Okay, so you can call it pub sub pattern or event emitter or observer pattern. All of them are solved the same way. So I'll teach that. Apart from that, promise, async await. So thing is, promise and async await I have taught in detail in one session that I took for a community, and that video is already available in my other channel. I'll just link it to this playlist. Okay, so you can use that. No, I created this course long back, Rajni. So I created this course long back based on uh, what are the important topics according to me in JavaScript, and so I actually have what do you say, covered everything except for the asynchronicity. Okay, the set timeout, the promise, and the async await. But again, that I already taught in a separate video, which is there available on my other channel, Apurv Khare. Okay, so you can check it there. I'll actually put that in this playlist itself, so that it will be available for you to watch. Okay, um, but promise, I can talk about it in brief, but it's better if you watch that video. In that video, I tell you exactly just how initially I used to create an execution context and call stack and all that. Similarly, I explain promises, async await, and asynchronicity in JavaScript in that session. So I would highly encourage to watch that session. I'll link that in the description once the session is over. But apart from that, I think all the topics that I should cover is done. So now what I'll do is I'll create individual sessions. Okay, meaning I'll just create what important interview questions are there, right? I'll create them. So if you see that, then polyfills. So I showed you polyfills for array methods, and for bind, call, and apply. I taught all of them in this series itself. But then polyfill for promise itself, polyfill, and promise dot all settled, and all those methods that I have to reach. Then the pub sub pattern I told. Then there are some of the interview questions. So that will be a separate series, like important interview question series. In that I'll teach that. Cool. So I think that's it. Nothing else. Composition versus inheritance, again I can take it as a separate session. But yeah, not that's it for today's session. If you guys want to leave, you can leave. But if you have any doubt, you can ask. Mm, Great. Entire session is over. Okay. Okay, Abhi. Got it. No doubts. Awesome. Cool. Then I'll close this session, and uh, yeah, this is it for like the understand JavaScript sessions. Now whatever sessions will be there will be like individual like topic per topic sessions. Okay, but basic all the concepts were there, that is over. But like, finish the promise wala also, right? Promise wala I'll add in this playlist. That is important. Promises and asynchronicity, that is very very important. But since I've already taught it and I already recorded that video, I am not going to teach it again, so you can use that. Okay, cool. Chalo, bye bye.